Did y'all get a raise? Rent is up 30%. Mortgage rates doubled. It's getting worse, not better.
That was great. Dr. Phil kind of laid out a little bit about inflation and how that's impacting people. But when you really look at things, and especially retirees in particular, there's a lot of other things going on in terms of wealth erosion. Wealth erosion can be anything from taxes, and many different taxes. By the way, in the marvelous state of New Jersey, we have over 42 different taxes. Can you imagine? Inflation obviously has gone completely out of whack this year and has impacted a lot of people. That's a lot of what, Dr. Phil was kind of pointing out. Then you have also technological advancements, right? Advancements in technology. You're purchasing brand new cell phones now every 2 years as opposed to just getting a free upgrade. Black swan events completely can derail you, not just overall, but personally yourself. A health scare, something pops up. So all of these factors do play a role with true wealth erosion. And in the first chapter of my book is Money Isn't Math, Math Isn't Money. This is a super important concept, especially for people in retirement getting ready to retire, because money and math behave very differently. So if you want to take a look at math is perfect. 1 + 1 = 2. And if we're around 1,000 years from today, 1 + 1 will be 2. If you take a look at money, you take a look at $1 today plus $1 a year from today, it's never going to be $2 between taxes and inflation. It's eroding that money. And so believe it or not, our money behaves more like an orange than it does math, because if we took 4 oranges, put them in the middle of the table here, left them there for a year and came back, how many oranges would be there? There'd be none. They'd rot, turn mildew, turn moldy. So money erodes over time. Now, I have some examples I want to go over here, because as I was getting ready to kind of talk about this, and I'm getting ready to write a second version of my book, I was just kind of blown away by some of these examples. So a couple of weeks ago, I took out my family to a nice dinner, right? We figured, okay, family quality time, my wife, myself, my son, his wife, and our grandbaby. And it was a nice restaurant. And so we go out to dinner, and the bill for dinner is $427, so it wasn't cheap, right? But the crazy part about that bill was there was a sales tax of over 8%. There was a gratuity that they added, by the way, just out of 20%, which is $85. And then they charged me something called an operating fee for $16. So just to go out to dinner on top of the food that you're paying, which now those prices have inflation, right? That's part of it. It was an extra $101 on top of that, right? Which is pretty remarkable if you think about it. And this is all about wealth erosion, right? Then we went on a nice vacation. We go every year to we go spend a couple of weeks typically in Nantucket, and been going there, love it. So you figured, okay, there's going to be the expense of the home. Then you have a security deposit, which is fairly normal, but it's substantial. Then they charged me a MA short-term rental tax, which is MA is Massachusetts. On top of that, and this was a home, by the way, this was a home, they charged a local option room excise tax of 6%, which is quite remarkable. And then on top of all of that, they wanted to offer me, they called it a convenience fee. So if we wanted to pay for this, multi-million-dollar house, instead of using cash, a credit card, which was a 3.5% convenience fee. That's called wealth erosion. Then, funny enough, we were taking a trip going out to California. We got a car service. This is not a limo. It was just a sedan. And this is like everybody's doing this. Retirees are going on vacation. They're taking trips. They want to spend time with their family. They want to be with their grandchildren. All of this is baked into everything that we're talking about here today. But on top of the car, to get us to the airport, which was a base charge, very, very reasonable, $131. But on top of that, they charged us a separate toll charge, a separate parking charge, a separate gratuity, which is normal. They charge an airport fee. They charge something called STC, which I don't know, which was $15. And then they charged a fuel surcharge close to $20. So in addition to the fee, there was $81.57 of additional fees on top of the charge of the car, which was a car service. And then since we were out in California, we stayed at a very nice place out there, nice room. It was Torrey Pines, the lodge. So we took a look at the bill. And again, I look at these things because obviously being in finance for over 20 years, helping people retire, these are all things that are important for people to look at and consider. But in addition to that, they had They had a transient occupancy tax. It's a creative way of coming up with something. Then they had something here on the bill, SDTMDA, which was $9.50. Then there was a California tourism assessment. They didn't want to call it a tax. I guess they were being creative. Of 94 cents. Still, it's 94 cents. Then they charged me a resort fee, right? In addition to the room. The room is over close to $500, but there's a resort fee charge. And then if you add that up, that's $90 extra in cost, fees, taxes to stay in that room, right? That's not even including the food or the wine. And the interesting thing about this was they charged 2 times a day this SDTMDA charge. 2 times. It's $9.50, I guess, in the morning and an extra 60 cents in the afternoon. Why? I have no idea. Another, I think I have, this is the last one here I wanted to go over with you. One weekend, my wife and I were home. We were a little lazy this day, and we decided to get our groceries brought in to our home. So we used this service, Shipped, which was great. We ordered all the food online. It was fantastic, actually. Then when I took a look at the breakdown of this was amazing. Okay, we live in New Jersey, so this is exclusive content, like for New Jersey people. I don't know if it's in other states. You can always drop me a line and let me know if you have these types of charges across the country. So they had all the food, but in our state, you're no longer able to have bags. So these are like cultural shifts, right? Cultural shifts is wealth erosion, where over time things change, right? So growing up, you used to go to a restaurant and tip someone. You used to tip them 15% to 20%, depending on the level of service. Today, it's 20%, 25%. I've even seen as high as 30% tip. That's a cultural shift. In New Jersey, you have to go buy bags. So if you go to the grocery store and you're going to buy food, you have to buy your own bags or bring them, but you're buying them. So we had the food charge. They charged me a delivery fee, a bag fee, which was $12.50. And then they charged me for the bags itself. They charged me $18.76 for bags. And then they charged me $6.99 for an insulated bag. And by the way, that was not told beforehand. So the person, and again, I'm not blaming that person, but it was $7 because we bought food that they wanted to make sure they kept cold. And by the way, our supermarket, literally I can walk to from our home. So it's not even a quarter of a mile drive. So on top of the food, you had bags, fees, tax, and tip. It was an extra $81.68. So that's all about wealth erosion. That's what's really impacting people in retirement. And that's why it's creating a lot of frustration for people, because it's just not taxes and inflation. There's a lot of other wealth eroding factors. So I'm compiling different wealth erosion. So this is my little list that I have here that I keep by my desk. But listen, feel free to subscribe if you have your own story or different wealth eroding factors that are out there. We'd love to hear from you and learn a little bit more about like what you're dealing with in terms of retirement and retirement planning. I love the stories that we hear from people about their trips, and I'm always asking, like, what kind of fees did you pay? What were like the creative ways that they went around that? I think the California one really was a good one. I think I do love the tourism assessment instead of a tax. That's a fun one. So anyway, we look forward to hearing from you. Subscribe, hit the button below, and feel free. You'll be hearing a lot more from us.